All right. Hello from South Florida. I will give it a second. See if I get eyeballs. Anybody there? Hello, hello. Let's see. All right. Okay. So today's lesson is not so much a actual finished piece. It is today's lesson is about a technique. Hopefully everyone will be able to hear me. Woo. Okay. So I am going to show you what we are doing today. I have one eyeball. Yay. Okay. So today we're going to work with Cracked Patina. Cracked Patina. This finish here. And we're also going to do how to crack milk paint. I know everyone, or gesso. This is what we're going to crack. Okay, guys? So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Lyonella Cook. I own Sandpaper and Wax Design. Please like and follow my page. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Would love for you to visit me there too. I am a content creator for Amy Howard at Home. So today, again, we're doing milk paint, how to crack it, and cracking cracked patina. So I guess before we even get started, what's important is understanding the difference between cracked patina and cracking gesso and cracking milk paint. So, and the applications. So you can use cracked patina on an ornate surface, and you can use cracked patina on a flat surface. And with milk paint cracking, you typically want to see this on a little bit of more carved pieces, but you can also do it on flat. But I do recommend the cracking of gesso, unless you're going for like that really farmhouse look, to do it on a carved surface. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to turn you down, and we're going to go over what you're going to need today. And we'll be working with, first is our cracked patina. And I already set up a panel for you guys. I just added a little bit of detail to it. And starting, and we'll do one with just regular paint too. And then we'll get to the fun stuff. I know some of you have had a lot of questions about cracking milk paint. So, and then my color choices. I know you guys are like, wow, these are pretty crazy color choices. These reminded me of the Scandinavian shields from Viking times and like ornate wood architecture. And it's more of a rustic, Scandinavian, this kind of technique that I was going for with that. So that's my color choice. But we're going to use the same colors, and I'll show you guys how to do that. So first thing you want to do is clean your panel. And I just started with a basic wood. You're going to clean your panel with clean slate. I don't need to show you this, guys. I pretty much show you how to use this product. Clean your surface thoroughly. You want the paint to crack where you want it to crack, not just crack all over and completely fail. And when you don't have a clean surface, you will have paint failure. So go ahead and you're going to clean that surface. And then I used, for this one, I used the hazel mahogany is what we'll be using today as far as gel stain. And I stained that panel with a hazel mahogany. Okay. You can also, so you can do cracked patina on wood, but I put stain underneath. So that's what I recommend. It's, remember, cracked patina needs to be in a sandwich. It needs to be in between surfaces, in between material. So this one is just a regular painted with one step ballet white and cracked patina here. Now this looks like maple syrup. It does not smell like maple syrup, and it's pretty thick. So depending on how big you want to crack is how much you're going to thin it by water. So we're going to go full strength right here. This is full strength right out of the bottle. The more water you add, the thinner your crack will be. So go ahead, you're going to load up that chip brush, and we're going to go in one direction all the way down. And you can go over again, just like that. going over the surface in one direction. Now, the reason we say one direction, I know in some older manuals, they say do in a crisscross pattern. But when you do a crisscross pattern, you will get a crease as far as opposed to a crack. So going in one direction, you're going to let this come to tack. And typically, I mean, depending on where you're at, the humidity level, you want to wait at least an hour. And you can wait longer. I've left Cracked Patina the night before and had a beautiful crack with it. So we're going to move on here as if we're working with stain. You guys, I don't think I need to explain how to use the gel stains. If you do, please let us know and we'll send you a how-to with the gel stain. It's fantastic. It smells great, non-toxic, and you can have it in your home. So we already did our Cracked Patina here on our stained panel and applique. And then from here, we're going to start with our colors. I am going to use Vintage Affliction as the base color. So it's a really pretty blue, but when you start to age it, it turns into a nice dark deep blue. This is obviously an old can, but all good. And so the same concept applies to when you're putting paint on a surface. Especially when you're using Cracked Patina, the thinner the paint, the more finer the cracks, the easier it will crack. When you use very thick viscous paint, you're going to get bigger cracks and you're going to, it's going to take a little bit longer. You're going to have to be a little more patient with it. So you decide on how you want to crack this paint. So I'm actually going to water it down just a tiny bit. It is very thick. Depending on the age of your paint too, as paint ages, it will thicken. Where's another cup? Actually, you know what? We'll just use it full strength so you can see. We'll see the difference. One and one at each. Same thing, you're going in the direction that you painted, that Cracked Patina. You don't want to go over it multiple times because you'll run into something that's called double processing. And instead of just allowing the paint to crack, you start to lift the paint already and not letting it do its thing, what it was intended to do. You're already pre-cracking it. And sometimes that's desired, but for the most case, not really. So if you miss spots, like you're missing, like I'm missing here, you can go back through with an artist brush to go back under your applique. But let the Cracked Patina do its thing, especially if you're bothered by what you're seeing and you're having holidays. You want to be as quick as possible. Once you put that paint on there, it's going to start cracking. And watch, it's already starting on one side. So just gently here. And I'm going to intentionally show you what happens if you go back over it. I think learning from mistakes is essential. So if I were to just continue to brush it, oh, it's actually behaving itself. Oh, no, see, it's already starting to, see how it's starting to gum up right here? And that's not what we're wanting to do. We want that really pretty crack just like this, okay? And so try to avoid going over it too many times and wait till that surface has done its thing. When you start to see the difference, do you see how we have a difference here in sheen? This is now starting to dry. You're going to let that get more of this right here. You see that little bit of drying happening? You want that to start happening all over before you start touching it. If you do it too early, you're going to end up with a really sticky mess. It's going to be messy regardless, but it will be more of what you're trying to achieve. All right, and then we will use we're going to use Holy Moly and Java. And we're going to paint just like we did with this piece here, okay? And so opening up the Java and here's my, I'm gonna use a chisel. Oop. Oh my goodness. Sorry guys, usually I have these pre-opened. Okay, so here we are. So we've got both paints going and I need 1 sec. All right, let's go with just the straight yellow first. Where's my brush? I put them all in my drawer. Huh. Okay, so we're gonna go over, actually, artist brush. Here we go. We already did the cracked patina on here. And so just adding it to this little applique. There is cracked patina on it. You want to be quick. Don't worry about the holidays. We'll come back and touch that up. And when I say holiday, it's just gaps in your paint. So here we go. Just nice and easy. Again, look, it's already starting to crack. The rest of the board has already begun to crack. So you're going to move quickly when you're using cracked patina. You're going to use your hands and you're going to lift that paint up. And you want to follow that oval eye track. So just lifting, lifting, just like that. Good. Lovely. Okay. So we're just going to let that dry. Wipe your hands off. I have some rags. Make sure you dry, dry, dry. Wipe, wipe, wipe. Because otherwise you're just going to spread paint all over the place. So make sure you have some water and some way to clean your hands off here. All right. Now we're going to do our applique. We're just going to go over this just like so. Good. Lift. And I got a little glue on there. But you're seeing the idea of that right there, okay? Once you let this dry, you can go back over with a piece of 220 grit sandpaper to bring some of that raised edge down. And so we're just going to quickly, very quickly use our air dryer here. All right, so here we're still a little tacky. So while that's drying, we're going to move on to some milk paint and let this dry. We'll come back and finish this one up real quick, okay? So not to confuse you, we are going to step into that milk paint and gesso. I want you guys, we have a lot to cover in a short period of time. Here's a panel I did. This was done with the gel stain, the same thing. It's on a regular wood panel. And I did 1 coat of the gesso. So we're going to talk about gesso real quick. Cracked gesso here. For those of you who are artists, it's not the traditional gesso. It's the casing gesso. The traditional gesso tends to be, for those who are into oil painting or canvas painting, is made with hide glue and calcium carbonate. This is a little bit different. This has a casein milk in it. So you'll see, actually, I'm not going to open that. I have a container right here. It's a very powdery substance. And what I want you guys to really focus on is changing the consistency of your gesso. So I'm going to show you 2 different styles that you can do. Here's a little bit thicker. It is the consistency of a sour cream. You see, it's really just creamy. And here, it's a bit watery. It's more like a heavy cream, a single cream. I might even add a little bit more water. So when you're layering paints and you're layering, I want you to think about lean over fat or even viscosities. The thicker and then applying a thin paint, that thin paint on top will dry faster than the paint below. So it's that principle that we're layering, causing the paint surface to fracture in tension because of the dry time, because of the viscosity of it. I don't want to lose you. So if you guys, I can do a whole lesson on that too. So we did 1 layer of the thick, and I'll do another coat here so you guys can see. And and we'll even do a comparison, which is fun too. And so just layering that gesso. There. And you can go back and forth and make it as thick and thin as you want. Now for ornate pieces, you can make it nice and thick. For flat surfaces, you're gonna have to sand. You don't want it cracking completely everywhere and having failure. So we're gonna go on this side and I'm gonna use the thinner gesso here on the other side so you can show the difference, and then we'll play with it all together. So now this consistency would be more of a 1 part gesso to maybe 1.5 parts water, where the other one is a true 1-to-1, maybe even a little bit more gesso to the water. This is just a little bit thinner. Remember, it's a single cream consistency. All right. And now this is where I want you guys to also pay attention to. I'm going to introduce to you using isopropyl alcohol with water. Now you're going to mix a 50-50 solution. So alcohol is a acid and casein is a base. So when those two interact, it will break a milk protein. So we are going to chemically play with these and heat. So we're going to add some heat, start helping it dry a little bit quicker. And so we're going to use, actually, this one's a vinegar. Oh, yes. So I also played with vinegar as a cracking agent because it is an acid. This is so important that you paid in chemistry class. Who thought we would use this again? So now this is just a regular spray bottle. I have isopropyl alcohol mixed 50-50 in this. And we'll do one with vinegar and one with the isopropyl. So we're going to turn up your heat as high as it can tolerate. And you're not going to bake it. We're going to break it. And I'm going to get really close here as we begin. Okay. You can see what's happening. All right. You can see it's starting to crack, but as I do another layer, it's still really wet. It will start cracking more. Give me 1 second. We're going to work on this one before it dries too much. Now this one's a vinegar, a 50-50 solution that I mixed. All right. And same process here. It's a little bit different because alcohol dries a lot faster than obviously the vinegar side. Hit that again, let it sit. All right, so we don't want incredible cracks yet because now we have to build our surface. Now we've got one side is that vinegar, one side is that alcohol mix. Now we're going to start adding milk paint. If you get too much crack in the beginning, everything will start to fall off. So let's focus on that. Our base color is that blue. And so here I mixed a Southern Gentleman with Amalfi Coast. Ooh, I'm getting that everywhere. Okay. Make sure you agitate that milk paint. So here, we're going to go ahead and don't make your paints thick because it'll be more difficult to crack and remove. So just keeping that paint thin enough. And remember, milk paint shouldn't be thick. It's almost like a watercolor. And then we're gonna come over here and just go ahead, adding in that base color. Now there are multiple ways to crack this paint. I have played around with a bunch, but this is a safer method without lighting us on fire. I know Amy teaches a class in the fall, so she will have a different method, but these are just something you could do at the house or in your studio. All right, so we're gonna dry this up. All right, and now we are going to do our yellow. So I have two different yellows here. I'm using Tuscany in the summer and Praying Wife. And I wanted to create a contrast. So that lower level, and we're gonna do two different layers, and that's what creates that really pretty crack when doing multiple layers. Here is that. And we will get that one started. Okay. And just going over quickly as possible. Right. And while we let that dry, I'm going to add, and this is pretty dry, we're going to add that next layer of milk paint or gesso because I want to do two layers. So we're going to go with that thinner. The first one I did was a thicker gesso. Now we'll go with that thinner. Adding in. And thinner, you're going to get a finer crack. The thicker, you'll get more thicker cracks. So I'm going to do a bit thicker on the applique because I want a bigger, chunkier crack on the carved surface and a more finer crack on the flat surface. So we're going to go ahead and preemptively start to dry this. Now I'm going to add in, again, I'm going to spray it down, spray my surface. Alcohol dries rapidly, so turn up your heat on your gun. All right, so I want you to see, if you can start to see what's happening here. We've got a lot of cracking, and on this side too. This side's still a little wet. This was the alcohol side, so it's going to dry a lot faster. But keep an eye on this side because as it dries, it will start to break. But we'll continue right here. So now we're going to add that second layer of milk paint to here. And I'm going to go in the opposite direction here for this. All right. And we haven't even gotten into the mechanical process of breaking too, so we'll do that quickly. So we want this to dry pretty rapid. And then again, a little bit, because it's going to sink through into that gesso again. Give it a second, maybe let it absorb itself. And then you'll go ahead and apply that hair dryer heat. All right. I also want you to see what's happening on the vinegar side. So here you guys see a lot of cracking happening, a lot of cracking happening. But on that side that's drying a lot slower, you're starting to see more visual cracking. So what is happening is that that chemical, the acid and base are working against each other, and that's what's going to cause that crack. So we're going to go ahead and look at that. Look how pretty that is right here too. Can you guys start to see what's happening here? All right, we're layering. And I know some of you are like, oh, well, at the end, is everything just going to fall off? Well, no. And we have a way to prevent that from happening too. All right, so really quickly, I'm sorry, I'm running out of time. All right, we're going to do a little bit of the thicker gesso. I'm going to add a little more water. It's a little too thick for me. All right, and we're going to go over it again because I want to see multiple colors, multiple layers come through. And then while that dries, I'm going to do this side. So here we are. We're going to go back over with that blue on the vinegar side. And these are safe. You can heat vinegar. It's not toxic. Alcohol is safe, heated. You know, for me, it's always safety is really important. And for those that are in the home with you or in your studio with you, for your clients, health and safety. Okay, so that's going to be all we get to dry. I'm going to hit the whole thing real quick. And then we're going to go to one side. I'm going to stay with that vinegar on this side here. And it's going to take a minute because it's got to absorb. And it's not that quick dissipation like alcohol when exposed to air. And then we're just going to go like that real quick for here. All right, so now we are at the end for this applique. I want to go over it with the lighter yellow now, which is Tuscany in the summer, just to create a little bit of contrast. Wait, might have been, yeah. And it's not a thick paint again. We don't want have to, whoop, look, it's already cracking off. All right, just a little bit. All right, so this is the fun part. We're almost at the end for this one. All right, so let's take a look. Let's see what's happening here. Look at this. Do you see? Whoa. So you're like, oh my gosh, is this going to be stable? And you know, it's not. Like an old paint, it would chip and peel. So in order to stabilize everything, we need to use a top coat, a clear coat, and then you can continue with the waxes and gel. And so we are going to spray this very quickly. I would recommend either that's hot, a spray shellac, or if you put it in a sprayer, you could use the matte sealer, but that's up to you. And so just quickly, just spraying over it to kind of stabilize it. Now it is, some of it's gonna, have failure. We're forcing the paint to fail. So that's okay, because this is the look we're going for. Remind yourself. And if necessary and if needed, you can add another layer and do another additional layer, maybe perhaps less cracked than at that point. But so here we are. You want to let this dry. You're going to go ahead and now, because it's sealed, you don't have to worry about the complete staining. What I like to do to accentuate these cracks is adding gel stain, a little bit of a watered down gel stain. So it's not a lot, it's just a little bit. And we're just gonna totally thin this out a tiny bit. All right, where is brush that I used for stain? Oh, lots of processes. Okay. And so we're just going to go over it gently here. Ooh, and see, I am having failure, and that's okay. This is the whole look that we're trying to achieve. And you're just going to gently, and obviously let your paint dry. Allow more dry time than I'm doing right now, guys. I'm working and trying to do this all in one step. This is going to be a bit of a process. You want this paint to finally dry after you have it crack. You don't want to do what I'm doing. This piece that I did, it took me a day and a half. So just allow time for it to completely dry, because otherwise you will have failure. But that's how you stabilize crack. That was a little too thick. And then from here, you can go ahead and start manually. If you want to see more up here, you can start pulling off with a straight blade. And of course, guys, we didn't even get to the fun part too, is that you could use the antiquing glaze, which will help pop some of that off too, but you would have to do that before you put the shellac on it, because otherwise you already have a seal on it. And now the reason you have a sheen, you need to bring that down with the wax. So when you wax over that, it will dull down the sheen from the shellac. So you can use a matte sealer and spray it, or you could use whatever top coat you prefer. Obviously, water-based is ideal. And then go ahead and do that from there. So that's essentially, in a nutshell, how you would start really forcing the crack. Again, you could use that blade and to start popping. To start blending the colors, I would definitely use the antiquing glaze. Let's see, this side's probably a little, yeah, this side's okay. You can bring it down and kind of blend it out. See, here we go. This I didn't put much. And see how this also helps start. There's so many different ways to achieve this look. And adding water. But you got to play with it. So acids break down bases. And that's essentially how you can start chemically cracking that paint. Now we're going to go back to the Cracked Patina, finish up here, and we are done, guys. Oh, make sure you wax and seal everything to stabilize it as well. And dark waxing, like I did with this piece, I went ahead and did stabilize my crack. See, it's not falling off. Then I went ahead and I did the antique glaze, shellac, wax, dark wax to add accent, as you can see through here. And then if you desire, Dust of Ages can be applied through there. And that's how you get that final look. With this one, similar process. Again, this is just a different type of crack. This is a more modern crack, where that's a more older crack. And then, so that dried, and now we're going to do our second layer here, and then we'll do our second layer here, just like so. Let that dry. Now, cracked patina can be done in one day. Cracking milk paint is not going to be done in one day, or it shouldn't be. right. Still a little tacky, but that's all right. It's okay. So from there, we're going to do a little bit of our Java, and we're going to mix up a little bit of the Tuscany. I'm just doing a tiny mix here. Ooh, making a mess. Just going to do a little tiny bit. I don't want to waste a ton of product. And so I'm making like a muted yellow. Kind of bring that down. Ooh, that's a little more than I wanted. And then, yeah. Just like that. You're going to let that dry. And we'll work on the other side. So I want to do the same color, a monochromatic, same exact color of that blue. I just want a more richer look to it. So here's my blue. All right. Bend that down a bit. We're going to come across. I'm going to go in the opposite direction now. Now you can go in the opposite direction. All right. Let that come to a bit of a dry. Again, the detail, you can come back through with a brush, with an artist brush. And use your hands. Ah, there we go. Maybe one side's a little more. And again, you really got to take it off. So wiping those hands. All right. All right. And then once that completely dries, you definitely have to seal Cracked Patina. It's going to be sticky and it could reactivate. So you need to, must seal it. You can seal it with a matte sealer and then go over it with wax to add a little bit of some sheen to it or depth, which would give it really beautiful depth. So going over that with a matte sealer or wax. Here we're going to do wax. Really easy. Make sure you offload your brush. We use the back side here. And just going over, feathering all over. Let that come to tack. And you're going to go over it with that dark wax. Now be careful with your dark wax. You can make something look very dirty. And you'll do your dark wax here. It comes in a really awesome puck, just like this. Make sure you're offloading when you use it. Too much wax can absolutely make something look filthy. So here we are. And we're just going to use that back of the board. And we're just going to add a little bit of shadowing, maybe on the edges, across. Right. And there we go. And then at the end, when that all comes to tack, don't do it this fast. Tack is like 40 minutes, 30 minutes. You're going to use Dust of Ages if you want to get some dust into there and really make it look old. You could also use gel stain in here. It's really up to you what you want to create. Let's see. Used all my brushes I brought. All right. And Dust of Ages. You can just put it into the crevices of this. Really pretty. Let that come to tack. I typically let my Dust of Ages sit for a couple of hours and let it really kind of cure into that wax. And then you're going to come back with a cloth, lint-free cloth, whoop, flying everywhere. Whew, my goodness. And then you can buff it to a sheen. I've created obviously a couple of different colors because I did this too quickly. But It's a lot of fun to play with. You guys, dry times are really important, especially when it comes to the milk paint and your waxes. I can't express enough for that. But what we're trying to achieve is here. Again, it's just the layering of colors, letting things crack, cracking, and it does create a different look. You know, this is a little more, I would consider a 20th century look, whereas I would say this is more of a 16th, 17th century, maybe 19th century, but this is a more modern crack, whereas this is, you know, as paints change throughout the years, this is a more antique look. So this is actually done with just gesso, layers and layers and layers of gesso, no color whatsoever. This is done with waxes and dust of ages. Now, you could do that. Absolutely. It almost looks like a fossil. So again, dry times, very important for that milk paint. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask them below. I hope you guys follow me, and I look forward to seeing you, and have a fantastic weekend. Bye now.